Good day, Miss Montypenny, and welcome to my channel. It doesn't work. JD here. Welcome to my channel. I'm JD, and you're watching my watch repair channel. Please subscribe. It's over there. I got it right this time. jdwatchservice@gmail.com. So today, we're going to be working on reassembling the movement for this Illinois 21 jewel, very nice pocket watch that had a whole lot of issues. I'll call it the Franken watch. So a gentleman named Ed provided it to me, and he wanted it repaired because this is a watch he actually used while working on a rail line in the US. So I've got my little book here of, oh my God, this watch has got problems, and I'll read some of them out to you. So first of all, the dial foot was missing, a single dial foot. I've got a dial foot soldering machine coming from Vietnam, and it should arrive within a week or two, and I will fix that dial foot. It's going to take me a while because I don't do soldering of dial feet, but I will after that device has arrived. So there was also a small screw missing on the side. There was also the minute wheel plate had a small screw missing as well. The dial, one of the dial screws was missing on the side. I think I said that already. There are many jewel replacements. The lower escapement jewel was cracked, replaced. The lower balance jewel was no good, replaced. The upper center wheel in a video I made yesterday was cracked. As I said, it sheared across the ruby, and it probably would work, but that shearing would basically make it weak, and then and that would crack eventually, so I replaced that yesterday. The lower balance jewel needed to be replaced. The upper intermediate wheel jewel and setting need to be replaced. That's the setting that I made for this watch. It looks a bit different than the center setting that I purchased. I probably could have made a center setting, but that would be like a lot of hours, so I knew I could find one. So the mainspring I think the mainspring was okay. I can't remember whether I replaced that or not. I may have replaced the mainspring too. Yeah, because it was a width 18 and it didn't run really well, I think. But anyway, so it's good now. The center wheel was a 50-150 center wheel. So 50 is the diameter of the hole, and 150 is the diameter of the whole jewel. So we're talking jewels here. And the intermediate wheel was fun, as you saw. And I made a video on that too. And I had to replace the lower escapement cap jewel, which is kind of odd, but that was cracked and had to replace that. So what else? I think that was it. That's all. It was like almost nothing, right? Anyway, it was definitely a Franken watch. We'll call it a Franken watch. So the only other things I have to do on this watch is I've got to clean up this crystal here. I could leave it the way it is, but I'm going to try to get that like new. And I've got to fix the dial foot. So today I'm going to just reassemble the movement, make sure that it runs. I probably will, I'm going to see if I will do this, but I'll run the train before I put the pallet fork in and see if everything is good there. I've done all the work on the balance, done all the work on the hairspring, all that's cleaned. I made a video on cleaning this watch. It's had a lot of activity, so I'm hoping and praying that when I put this watch back together, everything just runs really well, because all the repairs were done on this. It's been a project and a half. Anyway, hope you enjoyed this video, and let's get to it and add it into it, because you got to tune your attitude in, because if you don't get to it, then you'll never get at it, and you'll never get at it and to it again. You'll never get at it and to it again. That's Stompin' Tom Connors, a Canadian guy from Sault Ste. Marie. Anyway, enjoy. Alright, let's start with the reassembly of this pocket watch. So the first thing I want to do is do a little tiny bit of oiling. I'm going to use my new oilers that I showed you yesterday, and this is the oiler right there. I could move it a little closer so you can see what's going on. And I've got my oilers themselves. So these are the oiling cups, and then I've got the Bergeron 2847 oilers over here. So it's a pretty nice setup right now. So the first thing I need to do is, and I've got my new Airy lens here that flips over, which is really nice. And the lens here is a very high-end lens. It's not your cheap plastic lens, and it grips my 3.25 glasses that I can use just to look at the movement. I have reading glasses that are a lot less intensity, so I want to put this back together after. It's the first thing I'm going to do after I just do a little bit of oiling. So I've got my center wheel here, and I've got these wheels here. You can oil these from the top and not from the bottom. There's really no need to oil the bottom part on the inside. These caps have already been replaced and oiled, so that's good. When I did the cleaning, I'm 99.999% sure, because I did make a video on the cleaning as well. So I need to apply some of this oil in here, and I'll apply the red oil. It's funny, the new oiler, you can't really see whether this thing is red or not. So it's so you grab a little bit of that and put it on the edge here, and that's just oiling the barrel, the bottom pivot for the barrel, the opening on the plate for that. So I'm going to put a little bit of oil on that, and then I want to make sure that there's that the works here, the mechanisms for winding your watch and setting your watch have a little tiny bit of oil in there too. So just a little tiny bit of oil there. I can close that cap down. I'm going to move this out of the way because I really don't need it to be that close. I just wanted you to see it in the video. And I also want to, and I plunge my oiler into the cork, or whatever you want to call it, the material in the middle here. And I want to make sure that I've got a little tiny bit of oil here on the stem as well, so it moves back and forth. And I can use a little bit thicker oil for that, my yellow oiler. But I don't need a lot, so I'm not going to pick up a lot of oil here. So I'll just put a bit of oil on here, and that'll just move around without a problem. And then a little bit of oil on here, because that'll be touching the actual plate. And you only have to put it on one side because it'll move around, so you don't have to worry about that. And I'm going to make sure the teeth and all are on the right side, so I don't screw that up. Let me see, there's the crown, so this should be on this side, I think. Let me think here. Yeah, it's going to grab the wheel on this side, so I think like that, like this, and it should go all the way in, I think. And then the other side goes up like this. Is that right? No, that's not right. Show your faults, man. Show your faults. Let me look at my picture here. I'm screwing this up totally. Yeah, that doesn't go like that. No way that goes like that, because these two gears have to meet. So maybe I'm like this, screwing up. There we go. It's like this, and then should be doing it up here so you can see what I'm up to. And then I need the teeth to be kind of angled, so that's like this, like that. So that's how that works. And that just lays down, it just lays down like this, right in here. And when I put the plate on later on, I may have to snap that in, because it's got to go down, snap down into place, so that the pivot here is resting against the plate on the inside. So right now it's not snapped into place. Usually you can adjust that from the bottom, but I'll make sure I got the plate on first a bit, so that I don't have to worry about that. Then I'll just throw in the mainspring here, the barrel, like so. That's the mainspring barrel, like that. It's got a nice spin on it, as you can see. And then the plate, as you saw before, you grab that with my glove hand. The plate's got this new setting here and a new setting here. So I made this one, and this is the one I keep repeating that because I'm so proud of it. But I've got to build the gears up here, so I don't have to worry about sliding the intermediate wheel underneath the main wheel. So the intermediate wheel under the center wheel. So I'll just build up some of these gears here, and then first one goes in is the escapement. And I want to turn around the seconds hand, and I may have to get in a little close here because I can't see anything. I'm blind, Jerry. I'm blind. Just put this down for a second and get in pretty close here. You can see my nice hairdo on top, probably. And just shift that over a bit. There we go. And then the intermediate wheel would go next. And that's going to go, I believe, it goes this way, I think. Is that right? Is that right? Because that'll drive that other pinion. So it goes in like that. There's the intermediate wheel in there. And then the center wheel goes all the way down, like so. There we go, and it makes contact with the mainspring barrel, like that. I won't spin this by hand, but that's how it all kind of goes together, right? And while I'm here, before I put anything else down, I want to put a bit of oil on the gears here, and like I said before, this will transfer around as the watch is wound and everything else, and a little bit here, and then a little bit on the very end of the stem here, because it's going to be riding on the plate, and I want to make sure that drops into place. So I'm going to have to go flip this around after and then push it, or try to access it through the side, put some pressure on it, and then get it to drop into place. I can do that probably with a screwdriver. So this oiler is really cool. I like it. I'm moving it over here so you can see what it looks like. So I just lanced that piece of, it's the morning, so in the morning I don't think I can remember anything. So, oh, I was supposed to do a watch check before I did the whole video. So I'm still wearing the Pagani design watch right here. So that I did yesterday, and I did my watch check. That's what I'm wearing today. Although I do have an orange Vostok. So this watch here, and I actually changed the face on this Vostok. So this baby is excellent for when I'm on a boat and doing some fishing. I had some videos of me bass fishing there last year in my little tiny boat. Maybe next year I'm going to be buying a bigger boat, but I didn't figure out whether I like bass fishing or not. But anyway, I bought this face for it, and it's a beauty. So it's ticking right now. What the heck's it doing ticking? It needs to be wound. So I might wear this today and then put this away where it's nice and safe, and safe being the key word here. And then use the Vostok because I've got to do some work tomorrow, and it's going to be a little bit rough. So I don't want to do rough work and have that Vostok in play. So, or sorry, have the Pagani design in play. So even though that the Pagani design, get my wife to correct me again, right? Even though the Pagani design watch is probably cheaper than the Vostok, I still need to make sure that I don't ruin it, because it kind of looks like the homage of another brand that I'm not going to mention. Somebody on the internet said, hey, if you're going to do watch reviews, make sure you don't mention that other brand. Everything is good here. Don't mention that other brand, because that other brand might get a hold of you and they may take your videos off of the tube of you. And so I didn't want that to happen, because I do like making these videos and providing some advice and information and all that wonderful stuff. So I don't want that. I don't want to get in trouble by this, by the YouTube people that review and edit your videos, or audit your videos, I guess. There we go. All the pivots are through. So what I'm going to do is lightly screw this plate down so I can flip it over, and perhaps I should have probably got that thing in place before all of this, but I'm going to try it this way. So I need to grab a couple of screws here. I think they're all the same size. I'll know pretty fast whether I'm right or not. So yeah, these would be the 3 screws here. My 3 screws. And I got to make sure the screw that for the balance is the right one. So I'm going to have a look at all 3 of these to make sure they're all the same, and I haven't inadvertently used one of the screws that's supposed to be made for the balance bridge. They all kind of look the same, so we'll go from there. Put these back, and there's the balance one here. There it is there. It's got a little bit of a gold thing happening there, so not sure if that's brass or gold or what, but that's the balance one. So I'm going to put these in, and the idea here is that the plate will stay down while I'm farting with the winding mechanism to make sure that that stem is in place and the crown ratchets and all that stuff is working fine. So I'm just going to screw that down really lightly. I just want to make sure that the pivots for the wheels are in place here while I do this, so I don't have to concern myself with them falling out as I flip this puppy around and have a look at the stem and get it to fit. Yeah, I'm not putting any pressure on these screws at all. I'm just making sure they're in, and as I screw down, I'm just making sure they're not super tight, but in place with very little pressure. So today I cleaned my office / watch repair area, and I put a power bar in that I tacked vertically on the wall. So I did that so that I could take all my mess of cables that I have for all this recording and everything else, and adjust it all. So you know what I'm going to do? I probably, this is one of these, I probably shouldn't do this again, but what I'm going to do is put the other plate in. That way when I flip this whole thing around, I don't have that other plate or the other wheels jumping out. So, but I should, the professional watchmakers out there are going to tell me, why didn't you put the stem in place first and then do all this? It's like, whatever. I'm videotaping it, man. Stop picking on me. So the good thing here with this watch is I only have to put 2 pivots in for this here. So I don't have to fart around with 3. Putting 3 in is like very, very difficult. Putting 2 in shouldn't be as hard, but it's still no joy, but it shouldn't be as hard. I'm trying to find out where these things would sit. And another thing I need to do is tighten this. I loosened this up, I think. I need to tighten this up a bit so it doesn't float around so much. Like that. And then, anyway, I cleaned my office, so I'm pretty happy. I also, like I said yesterday, I got these really nice oilers, so I'm really happy. These are professional oiling cups. It's a Bergeron 3180, and they feel so good when you open them up. It's just beautiful. The action. There's just enough friction to hold them up, and not too much. This one's a little looser than the rest of them, The rest of them are a little tight, but perfect. So I don't plan on oiling them because I like the way they work. I was going to take the plate and go do some work to get rid of all the little scratches, but there's very few scratches there, and it's probably just a waste of my time. So anyway, I'm just going to play with this. Well, let's see where the holes are here. Come on. I think I need to get over the top of it. Oh, it's a little bit inside. Just don't put any pressure on it. That's the trick. There's two witness holes there, so, and the witness holes are kind of on the end. All right, I was confusing myself. Yeah, so these little indents are over here on the end, not where I was heading. There we go. That's one, that's two. And now I might be able to just nudge this wheel and it finds home. Just like I did before, I put these screws in just a bit so that so I can not worry about this not falling into place. I just want to make sure those pivots are in the holes, and use a piece of pegwood to hold this down just a bit while you're putting the screw down. That makes it oh so much easier. And again, I'm not going to screw these in tight at all. I'm just going to screw them in just so loose until I find the I'm not even going to snug them, because I want to make sure those pivots find the holes. Otherwise you'll break the pivot off. That's the biggest lesson you can learn from this, is that very careful, put the screw in, tighten it up, and don't put a lot of pressure on the screw head as you're turning them. So when you're undoing the screw, of course, when they haven't been unscrewed for friggin' 100 years, sometimes you got to put a lot of controlled pressure down on it. And then once you do that, you're able to slowly back the screw off a bit. So I gotta have to look at this sideways and make sure that I've got this in place properly. So. I'll be nudging, and I'll come back after I'm finished all my stupid nudging. Alright, I was able to nudge those pivots into the holes, so you just check the top of that jewel to make sure that the pivot's sticking out. And again, I'm not going to tighten this up a lot. Just I want to make sure this runs well before I tighten it hard, because you got to make sure the bottom part of that pivot is in there as well. If I put a little bit of action on this here, we should see the other. Oh, there we go. Look at that. It's just touching it and it's running. So now I got to flip this around, see if my technique of adjusting this so I can put this in place works. I gotta hold it in my hand and press down just a bit as I do that, so it looks like it might actually be in place. Anyway, I'll do that. I'll be right back. Alright, so all I did here, I turned it around like this, and this is the lever set mechanism right here. So I just pulled the lever of the lever set mechanism out, and it slid this arm and pawl back into place. And I just have to make sure that this is still tight. There's no issue here at all. which I believe it is. Yeah, no problem there. So these are all in place. And so then I tightened the top screws here so this thing wouldn't fall up again. So before I tighten everything up though, I'm going to I'll tighten everything up and then I'll oil the back here. So let's do that. Put the lever back and then put the watch back in the number 58 movement holder. Oh my god, this thing is nice. This thing is nice. If you can find one, get it. It's the best movement holder I've ever bought, bar none. So another thing I forgot to tell you to do. So look at the top pivots, make sure they're all through the jewel holes, and I can tell the escapement one is there nicely in there too. So just by looking at the movement of the escapement, and then flip it around and have a look. And I know these ones are all, I capped those and sealed them up and crap earlier, so I can't get at those. But I can look and see the second hand. There's the pivot for the second hand coming out. So I have to make sure that thing is out, the pivot for the second hand. And also you want to avoid that because you can, break that off. So you be very careful when you're working with the pivot for the second hand. I'll put the watch back in the number 58 movement holder here. The world's best movement holder. I should be like the salesman for the number 58 movement holders. And there we go. Now I will tighten this down. There's my tweaking mechanism I got from a local hobby shop. This is the best one. I have a lot of the ones at different angles and everything. This one works perfectly. So get this one here if you need to tap, tap the wheels to get the pivots to fall into the jewel holes. Just buy one of those. So don't fart around looking for stuff. I'm giving you advice here because I've personally farted around looking for stuff over the years and been unsuccessful in I've got a lot of unsuccessful tools. That's all I'm going to say here. Let me just tighten this down here. There we go. So back this off just a bit and then tighten it down. Just wanted a feel for how tight it is right now. So we'll back it off and then tighten it down. This is the scariest part because if one of the pivots is not in place, then you got an issue. So what I'm going to do is put a little bit of wind on it, and I'll hold the center wheel here with my finger as I wind this up, and I just want to put a little bit of wind. Oh, I can't do that yet. Hang on. You guys just noticed, right? That I didn't put in. What's this wheel called again? Correct. One of them is a ratchet wheel and the other one isn't. But this is the wheel that fits over the mainspring. So you put it in like that, and then you put a little pressure down, and there's a click spring right here. So you just have to get your handy dandy piece of stuff over the click spring and see if you can put that in place. Is that in place? I think it is. Feels like it's in place. And then just get this screw down here. And tighten that. And 99.99% of the time, this particular wheel, look at that. This particular wheel is clockwise. When you tighten the screw on top of that wheel, it's usually clockwise. So let me tighten it a little more here, just so I know it's in good. There we go. Last thing I want is these wheels to come apart. So I just put a little tiny bit of pressure on the center wheel, and I turn this a bit, and I just put a little bit of a wind on that, and then you watch, see if it runs. So I'm just trying to control it as I'm releasing it. So that's running the train, and oh my god, it ran perfectly. So now I know that there's power going from the mainspring all the way. Even if I do this just a bit, all the way through the train, and that's like almost zero energy here. So So that means there's no reason why this watch is not going to work. So now while I'm here, while I'm in this position here, I've got two options. I can put this 9415 oil on the face of the pallet fork, or I can put the oil on the on one or two, like two or three rather, of the feet of the escapement. So either way, it's going to pass that to the pallet fork. I do find that touching the feet of the escapement with this is a little bit easier than trying to put it on the pallet fork, and then for some reason you touch the pallet fork or something and it just gets gummed up and kind of screws the whole thing up. So I'd rather do it that way. So I'm gonna just take this oil here, and I use my blue oiler for this. So just make sure it's clean, so I'm jamming it into the whatever the stuff is called. I don't know why I can't remember the name of this morning. I say it all the time, but pegwood I can kind of remember now, but this stuff is called I don't think it's age. I think when I was younger I couldn't remember names of stuff either. I'm a mathematic kind of guy, so remembering names is a pain, is a pia. It's a pia. So that's that. And what I'm going to do is go in here and touch this. So I need to turn up the light or something so you can see this a little bit better, right? Does that work at all? No, it doesn't. Not sure how to do this so you can see what I'm doing. Maybe I just zoom in. I'll tell you what, I'll zoom in. I'll be back. I'm just going to try to zoom in so you can see the technique. There, I actually have a high intensity flashlight on right now that I'm pointing this way onto the movement. So I took some of this 9415 and I put it on my oiler, and I just want to touch the feet here of the escapement. So that's 2 feet. Let's see if I can move this around a bit. And just touch 2 more feet. And you're trying to touch the heel of the feet as you go through this. And as I said before, this oil will pass along to the pallet fork, which is kind of cool. And that should do. So just jam this a little bit, and then I'll just refocus here. So as I mentioned before, the 9415, it makes a world of difference in the amplitude when you've taken away the friction there. So that's this is pretty good stuff. So clean off my my Bergeron oiler here, made in Switzerland. I know the oiler and the cup on the end of this one is broken off. I'm looking at it going, why the heck? So I need to go find one of my other oilers. I got a collection of oilers, so I can replace that. And now I do this under my stereo microscope, but I've got to I replace the upper Joule setting in this one here. So basically all my Joule setting resources were depleted. And I've done this, so these are in very good shape. There's no issue there, so I need to put this back together again. I've done that before in other videos, so I'm not going to bother showing that, but I'll end up putting that under my stereo microscope. I lean it on a piece of Rodico and I put it in place, and it allows me to put the hairspring through the regulator pins, and it's just easier that way. So I'll be right back with this balance, so I can before I do that, I'll put the pallet fork back in. No, I'll put this together, then I'll put the pallet fork back in, then I'll put this on. There you go. So I got the balance back on, and I put the balance bridge and the balance itself safely, I gotta get my glove back on here, safely in the dunker tank. So it's now basically resting here. The balance is all the tension or weight is off the spring. So I just need to make sure that the screw that's tightening here is tight. The screw that's holding the stud that's inside here is tight. So I just have to get in there and tighten that screw. So I can hold it from the back with my fingernail and the top here, and just put a little pressure on that. Just don't play with the spring though. It's pretty good there. It seems to be tight. So now that I've got that in, let's move this out of the way, and I want to put in the pallet fork and the plate that holds the pallet fork on. So there's the pallet fork there. I got to make sure that the correct side is up, so the dagger is on the bottom of these pallet forks. So I just want to put that in place with the dagger on the bottom. And this was all cleaned, so there's no issue there. And make sure the arm of the pallet fork is resting between the banking pins. I think I'm good there, I'm not sure. Yeah, I believe that's in there now. And I gotta grab the bridge here. I actually like, if I know the train is gonna run without a problem, I like putting the pallet fork in first. So this is all taken apart and examined before, so I don't have to worry about this now. And I need this little piece of pegwood here to make sure that everything goes in place nicely. So I'm just trying to figure out how to get this thing left, right, up, down. There. I'll do it here, but it's hard, a little bit hard for you to see here because of the lighting. If I get my hands out of the way, it gets darker as I put my hand in there. So I'll just see if I can place this in there without putting my hand in. There, I think that's in there now. And I've got the two screws that are holding the plate for the bridge for the pallet fork now. So I'll put these screws in, just grabbing them from the container over here. And I don't want the screwing part of it to make this bridge ride up. So I'm just going to hold the bridge down with my piece of stuff. Of course, that didn't work too well. I'm being really quiet here because I need to get the screw in place properly. I'm going to swear any second now. I think I need to get a different lens for this flip over thing too, because I think it actually is too close. Because it's it feels like if I'm working on watches, I think it would be great. If I'm working on pocket watches, I think it's too close. And again, I put these in with very little pressure because just in case the pivot for the pallet fork is not in place, like a lower pivot, I don't want to screw this up. Gotta get in here on the edge, put the screw in place and then nudge. Nudging is a technique that all watchmakers are familiar with. You should give classes on how to nudge. So there. So now it's there. So if I put a little bit of power on the mainspring right now, I should be able to snap that pallet fork left and right. I'm just going to put a tiny bit of power on the mainspring, like that, and touch the pallet fork with my pick here. So let me just move this around a bit so you can see what I'm up to here. And I gotta focus again. Out of focus, in focus. Just like that. There, I'm trying to focus on the bottom part where I'm playing here. So that's not too bad there, I guess. So if I touch this, it should snap back and forth. There we go. See that? Now let me just snap it back and forth a few times here so that the Mobius oil I put on the escapement is passing to the pallet fork jewels. So that seems to be pretty darn good there. Now I can tighten these down a bit more. I'm not sure how to describe when you're tightening something down. The difference between snug Alright, so there we go. So I'm going to leave the pallet fork facing towards the inside of the watch, not to the outside. That way when I put the movement in, I can put it in I can put the movement in this way, like this, and then rotate it, not the movement, sorry. When I put the balance in, I can put it this way, the jewel on this side, and then rotate it in, and it should catch the mouth here. And then I have to pray for action. So then I'm going to do it with the camera still running. So I'm just going to keep the camera running here, and if this is successful, then I got myself a repaired pocket watch. So I'm just going to take this up very carefully. And I know that this thing has been adjusted so that the regulator is way over on the other side. So maybe I should change that adjustment first before I do this. So there's the balance here. And if I just go in close again, I think like I said, I got to get a pair of, I got to get lenses that I replace these with. You can get them from Esslinger that are less. So I'm loosening this up so it's more towards the center, with the hopes that the clean pocket watch will be perfect. I'm doing this very lightly so I don't accidentally slip and hit the hairspring. Hairsprings are finicky things, man. There we go. That should be good there. And then I'll grab this like this and then put it into the watch movement. So let me see if I can grab it from this side and do this. I actually always grab it from the other side, so I shouldn't do this. I should grab it from the correct side. So no change your technique. Do not change your technique, because it will fail you every time. I'm trying to figure out how to make this in the center. Sort of like that would be good there. Hopefully you can see that and it's not too foggy. Foggy Mountain Breakdown. I think that was the song that was in Deliverance. soggy mountain breakdown, foggy. So I'm looking at the pallet fork to make sure it's still on the right side. It shouldn't have moved. And then I'll grab this here, and I'm just praying for success, folks. Praying for success. And I want to just put this in this way, like that, and then rotate this, and then I put my finger over the edge so that for some reason, if this thing decides to jump out, I won't have a major issue. There we go. Nope, it's on the wrong side now. So it's called overbanking. So by doing this, I went down nicely, and for some reason it decided to overbank on me. So just dip it like this and take it out again. And I want to stretch the hairspring though. Alright, I'm just going to, I don't want to do this under camera, and I got to get closer. So just let me just turn this off for a second. Alright, there we go. I had to take my glove off here so I could grab the number 58 movement holder and put that in properly. And I've got some ticking going on, which is a very good sign. So now I'm going to see if I can replace this screw here. And then I'll put some power on this. So I just want to put a little bit of pressure on this here, so it doesn't pop out on me. Like that. There, I moved it just slightly, and I shouldn't have done that. So I'm just going to screw this back in again and see if I'm still good. Yeah, I'm still good. Put just a bit of pressure on there, and I don't have much of a wind on here, so I'm going to wind it up a bit more. So 20 turns on that. So, and it seems to be ticking away. There we go. And I'll let that just tick away. And hopefully I'm going to get a good amplitude on this. I don't know yet, but it seems to be running nicely, which means all of the work I did on the jewels are working, which is good. There, let's take a slow motion video of it and see if it's at all good. Oh yeah, nice stuff. There's the slow motion video, just to show you. And you can see where the arms are going around, and they're going way past 360 degrees, which is nice. So let me just show you that again. And it hasn't even worked itself in yet. That's slow motion. And look at that. That's 360, 70, 380, 390 degrees, right? And I'll just have quickly test the amplitude. I also like to, when I'm doing this, is I have a look at where it's starting and where the arms are starting and stopping, and I can tell if my beat error is that bad or not. So, but in this one here, I'm not going to be adjusting this beat error. Regardless, I don't think it's going to be a big difference, but I'll put it on my app right now and have a look at it. Alright, so it was weird because I had this watch, it was running perfectly, which it is now, it's running super strong, and all of a sudden it stopped. So, and I took my screwdriver and the wheel where I made the jewel, and I just touched it, and it started again. So I'm just going to let this run through to make sure there's nothing, no problem there with the teeth or the jewel or anything, because it was just strange. So this can happen when you put a watch together or something like that. But for it just to stop, I guess if it's just stopping, it's probably a better thing. It might just be a little piece of dirt in there or something. So if it stops and you can't get it going again, then you've got another issue. So I don't want it to be this jewel setting at all. It looks like it's fine. The jewel looks fine. The pivot's coming through fine, so there's no issue there. But what I'm going to do is put a little oil on this as well. So I'm just going to remove my, see, I put a nice little backing on this, by the way, so it stays flat, which is kind of cool. And this is for the dunker tank. So move the dunker tank out of the way, move some of this out of the way, and I'm just going to put a little bit of oil on here. And I want to put the red stuff on there, so let's see if I can do that here without an issue. Yeah, I just touched the setting. ShittyOiling.com. Let me just get rid of that. Like that. And I need to replace this oiler, so for now I'm just going to use the oiler for my 9010. Right, because I know this is good, and just jab that in here and just touch that, and then put a little bit of oil in here. I'm being clumsy today. You know what it is. There we go. That's nice there. And I'm going to put some of this as well on this jewel here. And I oiled all the cap jewels, so I'm not really concerned with them. Just jab that in like that. See, that holds up. Zorro. Close that down, and I'm going to just do a slow-mo on this again and look at the results, because it looks like it's running quite nicely now, actually. And let's have a look at that slow-mo. You see, just eyeball one of the arms, and you can see the arm going all the way by. Right, so you've got some decent amplitude happening there on this watch now. So that is good. Good news. And now, like I was going to do before, I was going to do my analyzing the Swiss Connect and see what I got there. Alright, there's the result. I'm pretty friggin' happy. So the beat error is 0.7 milliseconds. The amplitude is 328. That is really, really good. And it's plus 2.9 seconds per day. So this puppy dog is running extremely well right now. So that was just the first shot at it. So I'm just going to let this watch continue to run for a while, and maybe tomorrow I'll have a look at it again. But I'll just let this thing run right down. I do still want to make sure there's no issue with the with it stopping. I'm fully disclosing what happened there. So it just sort of stopped, and then this sort of just came to rest, and I was like, what's this all about? So I don't know why it would have done that. Maybe there's a piece of dirt somewhere in there, but I'll let it go, and if it stops, I'll look at where it's stopping and find out what the problem is. But in general, it's running super strong right now. I'll just zoom in on it so you can have a look. And there we go. So I would say this has been super successful. So that's the new centered setting and jewel. This is the new intermediate setting and jewel, or the 1 2 3rd wheel. And I did a bunch of cap jewels on here, and I had to replace the jewel, upper and lower balance jewel on this thing, all kinds of work on this. And now it's running super strong, so I'm pretty sure that Ed, the guy I'm doing the work for, will be pretty friggin' satisfied. So now all I need to do is wait for the infamous dial foot soldering machine, because it's got a dial foot missing here, and I gotta solder that dial foot back on and do a really good job at it. And In the meantime, I'll just clean up that the crystal here is a little bit foggy, so if I could find my crystal cleaning stuff, order some more, but I'd like to get that. So that's it for the video today. I think I got to go to the cottage, and I'll talk to you later. Thanks a lot for watching. It was very successful repair of this watch.